Well, hi. Today is Thursday, May 15th, 2025. I'm Todd Studer, and this is Morning Cofee. Big event going on later on today in Bayliss Park. It's all part of the Council Bluffs Farmers Market, but tonight is a mental health celebration event, and it is put on by Sail On and Fly High, local organization that we're very familiar with. Dave and Cassie Lawrence head that up, and there's going to be tons of activity going on in the park tonight. A chance for you to visit a lot of different service providers that help in the mental health arena. There'll be speakers, and also for first 500 people that stop and get signed up, well, you can get $5 in farmers bucks that you can spend right there in the farmers market. So please come on out and join us for that this evening. And then, of course, it's bike night on the 100 block. So stay in town, head on over. The band Shoot to Thrill, AC/DC tribute band, is going to be on the stage. Bikes will be lining up all along the 100 block and on some of the side roads, and it is going to be a very, very full evening, lots of excitement, and we hope that we'll see you in downtown Council Bluffs later on tonight. It is a Law Enforcement Appreciation Week and Memorial Week, and coming up on today's show, we're going to talk with Sergeant Jason LeMaster from the Pottawattamie County Sheriff's Office, and he's the one that's heading everything up at the Squirrel Cage Jail. So we're going to learn everything that's going on there, and it's a fun interview. So I hope that you'll stick around and listen to that. Also, when you need precision metal fabrication done right, look no further than Foxco Fabrication in Council Bluffs. Custom welding to large-scale manufacturing, bringing your ideas to life with expert craftsmanship and cutting-edge technology. Whether it's industrial, commercial, or custom fabrication, they're going to get the job done on time and built to last. See everything that they can do for you on their website, foxcofab.com. You know, before bike night, if you're looking for something to eat, well, stop out at the Mile Away on Old Lincoln Highway in Council Bluffs. It's $5 burger and fries night. So they're going to be open at 4. So plenty of time to get out there, eat, come back for bike night, and just make a full evening of it. And again, they have changed the rules just slightly. So it's $5 burger and fries with the purchase of a drink. Otherwise, it's just $7, and it's still a great deal. It's a half-pound burger with a huge plate of fries. You can't beat that anywhere. So that's at the Mile Away on Old Lincoln Highway, just north of Council Bluffs. Also, keep in mind that this Saturday, you're going to want to head over to Titan Stadium, where Lewis Central plays football, because your hometown semi-pro soccer team is back on the field. The CB Captains are going to be taking on Sioux Falls. And guess what? The CB Captains are at the top of the division. Yeah, they still haven't lost. They're 2-0-1. They had that opening draw against Worthington, and then they've won 2 games in a row. And in fact, what they did against Inter Des Moines last Saturday, who, by the way, hadn't lost either, Captains put 8 goals on them, beat them 8-0. This team is good, and they are representing Council Bluffs very, very well. Tickets are incredibly cheap. Stop out and pick up the tickets that day. They're only $5, and if you got kids 12 and under, they're getting in free. You can't beat this deal. It is a great family experience, and the soccer is top-notch. I was very, very impressed by what I saw on the field a couple of weeks ago when I was there when they were taking on Garwell United. So, again, coming up this Saturday, first kick at 2, and let's cheer the Captains on as they continue through their inaugural season here in Council Bluffs. St. Service Master Restore by Schmader knows it can be hard to get back to normal when you've suffered serious property damage due to flooding, fire, or smoke, and you may also be left with all sorts of questions about how to get your home or business back to normal. Service Master Restore by Schmader will restore your space by offering quality commercial and residential restoration services in Council Bluffs and the surrounding area. That's Service Master Restore by Schmader. Well, sir, this is Sergeant Jason LeMaster. He is with the Pottawattamie County Sheriff's Office, Vice President of the Historical Society. Any other titles that we can throw in there?
That's all I can right now. Dad, grandfather,
Well,
those are important as well.
Those actually go at the top.
Yeah.
We're going to put those up there. What you do is secondary.
There you go.
Yeah, that's who you are.
Yeah.
That goes up there. Well, you drove an interesting vehicle over here today.
Yes. So since I'm part of the Historical Society, we had a 1930 Model A paddy wagon that was donated to us about 3 years ago. It was donated to the Historical Society, so it belongs to the Historical Society. However, Sheriff Brown allows me to keep it in the garage at the Sheriff's Office. It's plated as a Sheriff's Office vehicle, and I get to drive it around for public relations, for parades, for just glad handing. So we can use it for PR for the Sheriff's Office and also for the Historical Society.
Now, originally, this did not come locally. This came from another part of the state, correct?
Correct. It was a retired chief deputy from the Chickasaw County Sheriff's Office, about 3.5 hours away. So he called out of the blue and wanted to know if we wanted a paddy wagon for the old Squirrel Cage Jail. I jumped on the chance right away. I jumped in a truck and trailer, and I drove that next day with my father-in-law to go pick this thing up. So,
what? Maybe you don't know this, but was it ever actually in service? Was it ever used?
It was in New Jersey.
In New Jersey.
So this retired chief deputy loves old cars, and so when I got to his garage and the garage doors opened up, it was kind of like the heavens opened up. Because all of a sudden there's this 1930 paddy wagon, there's a 1930 fire truck sitting there, and there's a 1930 ambulance sitting there. He had one of everything. And I was amazed, but he is at the end of his career. He's slowing down, he can't show him off as well, and he wanted somebody to enjoy it. The Squirrel Cage Jail had just been designated as an official museum for the Iowa State Sheriffs and Deputies Association, so he wanted to continue by donating to ISSDA, by donating this paddy wagon to the museum.
That's actually it's a really cool thing that we actually have here, with that Squirrel Cage Jail. And I think it's one of the things in town that there's a lot of people that live here that haven't been to it.
Absolutely. There's a lot of guys on our department that have never even walked through the doors before. And so what we try to do now is anytime we get a new employee, whether it's a dispatcher, a detention officer, I put that offer out there that, hey, we've got this jail, let's give you a tour, let's show you what it used to be like,
right,
so that you can appreciate what we have now and where we're going to in the future. There's a wide spectrum there. The jail was built in 1885. And it was in continual use until 1969. So the technology that they had in the 1880s, a little different than what we have now. So no different than driving a 1930 paddy wagon around instead of the brand new jail van.
Was the technology though? Was it effective? I mean, did it hold people there and unable to?
It did.
Because I'm sure escape used to be a big problem going back 100 years.
Yes. So the interesting thing about it, the way that it was built and made, there was 18 rotary jails. It was considered a human rotary jail. There was 18 of them built across the United States. We're the only 3-story one that was ever built. So out of the 18, there's only 3 left. There's a 1-story in Gallatin, Missouri. There's a 2-story in Crawfordsville, Indiana, and then our 3-story. The way that it was made, it was for ease of use for the jailer. So one unarmed jailer could manage all 90 inmates. It's basically a giant lazy Susan for inmates. So all these inmates are in this jail, and if I need the inmate on the backside to get out, I turn this giant hand crank and the whole inside of the building rotates and lines up so I can get that inmate in and out. So it was cost effective, but it was pricey at the time. So the sheriff's office has always been a political beast, right? Whoever's more popular this year, you're going to be voted in. Case in point, in the late 40s, Thomas Jefferson High School had a really good wrestling team. And so their wrestling coach was very popular, no law enforcement experience at all, and they voted him in as sheriff. And so he is the highest ranking law enforcement official in the area,
right,
and he was a wrestling coach. So the popularity is like that. So Sheriff Guitar at the time, Theodore Guitar, knew that we needed a new jail in 1885. So he raised the money, got the town and the county to pay for it. As soon as he purchased it and spent the money, they didn't like that he spent that much money on these inmates, so he was voted out that same year. So yeah, we need it. Yeah, go ahead and spend the money. But now that you spent it, you're done.
Boy, it sounds like not a whole lot has changed.
No.
I think the same mentality would probably do the same thing today.
Another quick story, just because I have a lot of history in my head, especially with the Squirrel Cage. Yeah. The way that it was built, whatever you wore when you were arrested, that's what you wore when you were there. No orange jumpsuits, no black and white suits. Whatever you're wearing, that's what you're going to have there. But we're going to need to wash your clothes every so often. So we give you a laundry rope so that you can wash your own clothes, you can hang your clothes, let it dry. The sheriff wanted a new washing machine, those old-fashioned barrel washers, right? And then you wring it through. So the Board of Supervisors said, go ahead and go purchase it. So he spent his own money, went out, purchased it, turned in the receipt. Well, in the meanwhile, there was an election. So we have new Board of Supervisors. So he turned in that receipt, and they said, we didn't tell you could pay for that.
Oh, boy.
So he ended up having to sue the Board of Supervisors just to get reimbursement for that Maytag that he purchased.
Yep. Same. Politics hasn't changed.
No.
We think that it's more vicious and divisive now, but I
Yeah.
don't know that it is.
Yep.
I think that it's just more publicized now.
Yes.
But it's always been this
Yeah.
way. So tell me about you and your passion for being in the position that you're in, because it's obvious that you love what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So did that come from being in this position, or did you have it before you got there?
So I've always loved history. I've always been fascinated with it. My mom growing up, we had the encyclopedias, and so you would grab a book, grab an S, and start sitting there flipping through and find something cool. And the stuff that caught my eye was the old history stuff. The biggest one was the Statue of Liberty. Just seeing how they made it, how they transported it, what it looked like before they put it together, the whole reasoning behind it. It was fascinating to me. So that kind of kicked my history, wanting to know more about history off. And growing up, my family, it was a family of firefighters. I don't do heights. I am not climbing a ladder. So me and my brother got into law enforcement. He retired a couple years ago from the police department, and I went in with the sheriff's office. Being in law enforcement and having that history side, I talked the Sheriff Danker back in 2010 into getting a website, starting a Facebook page, and actually trying to bring us up to speed, and since it's a political beast, trying to find old photos of the sheriff's office was hard. So you're more popular right now, but as soon as you get voted out and I'm the sheriff, any letterhead that has your name on it, any photographs of you, any old photographs or anything, I'm going to throw away.
Okay.
And so if you look, trying to find old photos of deputies, of patrol cars, of even the sheriff's office from about the mid-50s back, they threw all that stuff away. And once it's gone, it's gone. Mm-hmm. And so I've scoured and scoured and scoured. I think every antique dealer in the area knows me by name. And my wife can attest to my eBay purchases. Anytime I try to find this stuff from Pottawattamie County or from Council Bluffs, I'm bringing it back. And so I want to get it back here. And so I had done a few tours at the squirrel cage just as a visitor, and I saw that they had some photos on the wall similar to what we have here, where there was some old deputies and some old sheriffs. I had never seen them before. So I sweet talked the manager at the time into, hey, if I bring a computer down, can I scan those images? That way we have them. Anything I find, I'll get back to you. So I did that with them for a while, and then they talked me into becoming a member of the board of directors, and I just kind of worked my way up. The squirrel cage as a museum, so it shut down in 1969 and it became a museum in 1971. They set it up a certain way and it stayed that way for almost 45 years. And it drove me nuts that every time you went there, it was the same story, the same everything, the same display, and nothing made sense. All of a sudden, there's a bunch of statues of squirrels in just one display case. That has nothing to do with the building. That has nothing to do with the area. Right. Yeah, we're home of the black squirrel, here in Council Bluffs, and it's called the Squirrel Cage Jail just because of the shape that it's in, but it has nothing to do with squirrels. And so when I became vice president in 2016, I told him to hang on for the ride because we're putting this building back as it was. Since it used to be a family home, we have photos of families growing up there. Really? We have the furniture still there. Let's put it back in place where it was, where the Christmas tree would have been, during the holidays. Right. Let's put this back as a family home, and let's make it so that it looks like the inmates literally just walked out of the cells. And so we dressed everything back up. And I can give a 40-minute tour, although I'm kind of twinging my tingles just a little bit when I do that. But when I give a tour, it's a good hour, 2 hours, because I want to tell the true history of the people that live there, the people that work there, or the people that got, sentenced there. Right. So I try to tell a good enough story that during my tours, nobody has any follow-up questions. They don't say, well, what kind of handcuffs did they use? Because I have them all on display. Well, where did they sleep? I've got it all set up. This is exactly how it looked. So I try to tell the full story of everything because I don't want to lose anything. So the nice thing about working at the sheriff's office and working in the role that I am, I've been in charge of records and civil processes at the sheriff's office for 10 years now. The nice thing about that is we're scanning all the old arrest reports. Well, now we're getting into all the old arrest reports of everybody that was ever at the jail. So we always had a record of their names, and some of their names are scratched into the walls there. Well, now I'm getting these mug shots of these men, women, and children that were all housed there. So I've got probably 7,000 mug shots of scared men, women, children. We had a juvenile detention area there. The youngest on record that we housed was 3 years old.
Really?
A lot of people don't realize the history that's there and why it's there. In the 1800s, they didn't have children's services. So if you went out and committed a crime and your kids were with you, we locked you all up for the same crime. If you were injured or the kid was lost or anything like that, we would lock them up and keep them safe until a family member can come pick them up.
That's it's fascinating about how things used to work, and you talked about the history of it. There's so much history in Council Bluffs, and we've lost a lot of it.
Yes.
We've lost a lot of it from, because there was a time when people didn't think as strongly about history as they do now.
Right, right.
So a lot of the buildings that we used to have downtown, long gone,
Yep,
and
yep.
have been replaced. But I think that we realize how important it is to maintain and to keep these historical sites now, and we've still got more that I think need to be restored and need to be brought back to life. But it's a process, and we're seeing. I mean, it kind of broke my heart a little bit when I saw that old YMCA building come down.
Yep,
But
yeah.
but still, it had gotten so far into disrepair that there was no way to bring it back. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So what it is that you're doing, very thankful that you're in there. Not just that you're showing people this, but that you have the passion for it, because that's what other people need to see. That is the draw for. I'm assuming that you've had people come through your tour from all sorts of places across the country, even international.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just amazing the draw that there is there. People will seek out that jail specifically because of that type of jail it is. And again, like you said, there's a lot of people here in the area that have no idea what it even is. Council Bluffs was famous for a lot of things and nobody realizes it. Council Bluffs was here before Omaha.
Yeah.
Omaha wasn't here. We were Canesville. Initially, we were Coonsville, then Canesville, and then the big meeting with Abraham Lincoln here on the Bluffs, Council on the Bluffs.
Right.
That's why we're considered Council Bluffs. And they've known that history needed to be saved. It's been a continual fight for years. And the Historical Society was actually established. One of the founding members was General Dodge. So it started in 1907. So we've been around since 1907. So we're not going anywhere. And it's a continual fight, but we're doing the best that we can to preserve what we can.
Yeah, that's it's great that you're doing all of this work, and I'm excited to see what may next come back. Just recently, obviously the Cohen building
Right.
being completely restored, and that now it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Where it's at. So more areas are coming, but talk about what it is that you do with the just with the sheriff's office, that because we're here honoring
Yes.
law
Yep.
enforcement
Yep.
all of this week. So to talk about that side of it a little bit.
So I've been in law enforcement for 26 years. I actually started at the sheriff's office as a jailer. The jail at the time was on the 5th floor of the courthouse. Just to, in a sense, kind of get your feet wet. Some people start that way. Decided I wanted to get into law enforcement. I went to Glenwood, Iowa for 10 years, and then I came back to Pottawattamie County. I wanted to come back to my roots. So I've been back here since 2007, 2008. Kind of worked my way up at the sheriff's office. I dabble in a little bit of everything for the sheriff's office. So because of that history and because of my knowledge and passion, we've been able to kind of figure out what should be where, how it should be, what it used to be, used to be like, and where we should be heading. When I first started, we knew that we had 2 line of duty deaths. There was one in 1911 and then there was one in 1981. Well, working with the squirrel cage and the Historical Society, everybody kept asking me about a deputy that was shot and killed inside the jail. And I didn't know anything about it. And it turns out we did have a deputy in 1932 there was a giant riot. They were trying to break a bunch of people out of the jail, and a riot gun discharged, and it ended up being a mortal wound. Well, there was no record of that anywhere. And so to me, that's just horrible. So we wanted to get his name added to the Iowa Memorial Wall and then the National Wall in Washington as well. So Claude Dale is now was a special deputy. He is now honored. Then we found another deputy in 1945 that was purposely ran off the road and killed. His name wasn't recorded anywhere either. So we righted that wrong. The nice thing about McKinley, when we added his name, we were able to bring his daughter in from Omaha. She was in her early 90s. And she remembers when her dad was killed.
Wow.
And she remembers it was a basic funeral. And so we were able to present her that flag that the family should have gotten. So we've been able to, right some of these wrongs. And then obviously in 2017, we had Deputy Mark Burbridge that was shot and killed. Mark was my best friend. He lived with me after his divorce. He lived with me and my family for a while. I was there when he was shot. I was able to go pick up his wife and take her to the hospital and be with her when we found out that he was shot and killed. So we sacrifice a lot, just in general in law enforcement. And yes, there's bad guys here and there. You know, just like any profession, there's going to be a bad doctor, there's going to be a bad teacher. So there are some people that tarnish the badge. We want to make sure that we're shining the badge as much as we can, showing off what we can, and honoring those who have sacrificed so much for us. So Police Week is dedicated to those that we've lost, plus, to me, the good ones that are still shining that badge. And so that's what Police Week is to me.
I have talked about it on this show many times, that the reason this show exists is because, and you and I talked about it before we started, about shining that light on what positive is going on. Because I believe that the brighter the light is that's shining on the positive, the less comfortable the negative is being around it.
Yep.
I truly believe that. And yeah, we have problems in Council Bluffs, just like every place has problems. But there's so many great things that are going on that I think often get overlooked and sometimes just flat out ignored.
Right.
Because it's so easy to put the light on the negative. That's what generates clicks. That's what generates views on videos or online or on TV shows or wherever it is, by putting it on the negative. But if you shine it on the positive, everything grows.
Right.
And that's, so when you're talking about that kind of stuff, I'm right in that same camp
Yep.
with you. I truly believe that that's what needs to happen.
You know, and a lot of people, when they know that you're law enforcement, off duty, on the weekend, whatever it may be, all they see is a uniform and a badge, regardless of what you're wearing. They don't realize that you're a father of 3, that you have grandchildren, that you give goofy tours of an old haunted museum, you know, stuff like that, or you drive around in a paddy wagon just for the kicks of it. You know, they don't see that side of it. All they see is that uniform.
Well, you brought up the haunted part of it. I know that's a pretty strong belief. Is that something that you put credence into? Is it a building settling? What's going on over there?
It's very interesting. Over the years, there were several families of jailers that refused to live there because there was always some weird stuff going on. We have paranormal groups from all over the United States and Canada that will travel and just spend the weekend. And we'll allow anybody to stay the night. If you want to stay the night tonight, I can make it happen.
Wow.
They'll set up cameras and recording devices. And if you just go on YouTube and look up Squirrel Cage Jail, you're going to see all kinds of evidence. I've been there late at night, early in the morning. I've heard and seen weird things. My analytical side is like, there's got to be a reason for that. But sometimes there's just no reason, and
Can't figure it out.
you wonder what it is. And I always attribute it as it's former jailers just keeping an eye on the building. Nothing horrible has happened to anybody. There's no demonic anything there. They're just keeping an eye on the building and making sure we're treating everything right.
Yeah, for me personally, I'm a little depressed if we get stuck where it is that we died. It seems to be a very depressing way to spend eternity. So I'm hoping that that's not real. But at the same time, I understand that I don't have all the answers and I don't know everything.
Right.
So you know, I leave myself open to the possibility. Let me put it that way.
They say there's a lot of reasons why there is a lot of energy there. That was the site of the original city morgue, and then they built this building. We had 5 documented deaths, 4 inmates and 1 deputy in the building. You've seen the show Hoarders before?
Yes.
We absolutely love Hoarders, because sometimes great Edna passes away, but she has some really cool stuff, and they don't know what to do with it, and we get that.
Yeah.
So on site in some hidden rooms, we have some really cool stuff. I mean, we have wedding dresses from the 1800s. We have Indian heads that people have collected across the United States, just boxes and boxes of those. Military uniforms from guys that didn't come back from campaigns. So a lot of people say that the energy is in some of those things. We even had a doctor in the area, an optometrist, that collected some of the most medieval-looking equipment, where it would like pry your eyes open, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, since he studied eyes, I have 2 boxes of nothing but glass slides of slivers of eyeballs on there. So technically, I've got body parts in the building as well. So if anybody wants to ask or question whether or not it's haunted, well, I've given you 5 reasons right there that the possibility is there.
Okay, this is actually going to be kind of cool, because I used to own a house on Franklin Avenue.
Okay.
And very steep hill
Right.
in the backyard. And I found an old bottle that was down at the bottom of the hill, and then, shortening the story, I ended up finding a lot at the top of the hill. They were half-pint flasks laying on their side, stacked. Buried up in the top of the hill. I also found a piece of it was a brass corner that looked like it was probably off an old leather chest or case.
Okay.
So I think that someone had buried a lot of bottles up there once upon a time. My theory is that this probably went back to Prohibition days and somebody was burying things. I wanted to, since
imagine.
you're such an historian.
I imagine I'd have to look up a lot of information real quick, but did you find any bottles with anything in it?
No, well, I found one with an old cork.
Okay,
That was still
that
in
doesn't
it.
count. That doesn't
No, that
count.
doesn't count. I also found about the size of the old 10-ounce Coke bottles,
Okay.
about that size, and it said Council Bluffs Bottling Company
Yep.
on it and raised letters. And I have no idea how far back that goes.
Yeah,
but that was in there too.
Yeah, that's going to be back in the 30s in a sense.
Okay.
So, yeah, just amazing. A lot of history here. I wish more people got as excited about it as I do, but I'm going to keep telling my story, and as long as people keep coming to the museum, I'm going to keep showing it off. So,
Well, and I'm asking everybody that comes and sits in this chair today about what the Masons are doing today, and it seems like a small thing. We're just giving some guys some lunch,
Right.
but you can see as law enforcement comes through here, it means a lot to have an organization and to know that there's people out there that just want to spend a little time honoring you today.
Yep. Yep, just that thank you from the public is just amazing. You know, a simple wave or a smile does wonders for our soul.
Yeah.
So,
Well, again, Jason LeMaster, Sheriff, or Sergeant rather, with Pottawattamie County Sheriff's Office, and also I'm grateful for the time that you took to come over and talk with us today.
anytime you want to broadcast from the squirrel cage,
Now, see,
I will
now
make it
you're,
happen.
Now you're getting into my wheelhouse. I can see doing some kind of live. If I can get an internet signal, if I can go live online, that would be fun.
We could make it happen. And if it
perfect.
wasn't so radly, I'd have you going live from the paddy wagon.
That'd be fun too. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks to the Masons for putting that lunch on Tuesday and feeding well over 300 officers, law enforcement personnel in the area. They said that was a record for them. That's the largest group that they've ever had come through there on this day. And also for setting up all of these interviews. I didn't have to do the heavy lifting on this. I just showed up with a camera and started talking to folks, which is, I don't find that any effort at all. They did all the hard work. So thank you, Patrick Morgan and everybody else with the Masons for making that happen. S&B Country Kennel has become the top spot in Southwest Iowa when you need to know your dog will receive only the best. Boarding, daycare, grooming, self-washing, training, and even a membership available to a dog park over an acre in size. S&B Country Kennel is located just west of I-29 on Bungie Avenue, south of Council Bluffs. And their owner, Joe, well, he is going to be at the NAMI Walks event coming up this Saturday at Rivers Edge Park in Council Bluffs. So I'm going to be there as well. I'm there emceeing the event, and I'm going to get to see Joe in action with some of his dogs. They do have rescue dogs there, so you can check with them about adoption possibilities, and you can see real-world example of just Joe is just phenomenal. He's like a dog whisperer. I mean, he is really, really good with these dogs. So I'm looking forward to seeing him on Saturday, and also looking forward to seeing you as we have the NAMI Walks event. You can get registered the day of the event. Just come on out. We'll get you signed up. Love to have you there as we are raising money for folks that are dealing with mental health issues across Southwest Iowa, and all the money raised right here stays here. The money that is raised in Southwest Iowa, 100% of it stays right here. So please come on out, join us, join the walk. Our friend George Turner is going to be there entertaining some people. It's going to be a great, great morning, and all of that is coming up on Saturday. Do you or does someone you love need in-home care? Home Care Advocacy Network helps you maintain your own privacy in your own space while still receiving care and support with a personalized touch. Aging in place can be critical for many people. Home Care Advocacy Network can meet those needs with an understanding that assisted living is best at home. HCAN of Southwest Iowa brings the personal touch to care at home in Council Bluffs, Glenwood, Red Oak, Clarinda, and all the surrounding communities across Southwest Iowa. Visit hcan.com/Southwest Iowa to learn more. Since 1870, Avela Bank has been providing Iowans with high-quality financial products and services to fit their needs. Whether you need a loan, would like to start a new business account, saving money for a trip, maybe you're just looking to open a personal checking account. Avela's qualified bankers can help you with all of that and more. Visit avela.bank to learn more. Thank you so much. Don't forget, again, it's the farmers market tonight. It is also mental health celebration night in Bayliss Park, so you can take both of those in. And it's bike night on the 100 block with the band Shoot the Thrill. So full evening tonight in Council Bluffs. We hope to see you there. My name is Todd Studer. See you back here tomorrow morning.